Good evening, everyone. I'm Benjamin's son. Tonight I'm going to introduce a little bit about the Chinese invest in the Bay Area. So we've seen lots of Chinese money from doing cross-border investment in the Bay Area already. Today, just we'll do a very, very short review of the trend of what they want to do here. So why they want to come to US to invest? Here's a couple of reasons here. One is industry upgrade and transformation. For the past years, China has been accumulating tremendous treasure because of the manufacturing places, high, heavy labor, low tech. Now they don't see this as advantages. They want to do a little bit upgrade, a little bit transform from industry, from manufacturing to service, or even innovation industry. And the less restriction on outward FDI, which means FDI, foreign direct investment. We've seen a lot of merger and acquisition from China. Recently, there's a huge acquisition from CITIC grouping from China. And of course, the lack of innovation resource. I will come down to this later on. And also, there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs. They brought a company in the NASDAQ, and they made money here. They want to make sure the money stays in this market. And also, they want to leverage the resource in China market. And also, the deal flow is high quality compared to that in China, and the valuation is much, much more reasonable. Who are those investors? They're like institute investors. Here I refer to the angel fund from China, the VC and the PE. It's interesting in China nowadays. It's hard to see people dividing to angel, VC, and the PE. Everybody goes to the angel round, even seed round, because they want to start from the very beginning. They want to see the bubble of innovation. Third one is the corporate investor. You probably heard the name of Huawei, probably heard the name of Tencent. They are in the Bay Area. Those are the corporate investors. And family offices. Ever since 2015, Chinese government are licensed to the family office in China. Now, those ultra-wealthy individuals, they want to make sure their wealth management be managed well and to diverse their portfolio of investment. So coming to invest in startups here has become one of the options. And the private investors, those entrepreneurs, those high net worth individuals, those people with ambitions, and those entrepreneurs looking for opportunity, they belong to this category. So this strategy is like first of all, localization, the Chinese fund here, and also they buy property here. For example, like Hanhai, Zipa, InnoSpring. Hanhai, the background of Hanhai, they are a real estate developer in Beijing. And InnoSpring, the background is Ruiyan. Actually, they started Xintiandi in Shanghai, which is a really, really fancy place in the prime location in Shanghai. And then they negotiate with the government for more land at very low cost in the name of innovation. So they built up the innovation in the spring in the Sunnyvale. And a strategic investment, of course, and they will become the LP of the local fund, and they do also co-invest with a local major fund in the US. To name a few, like Legend Star of Lenovo, Wing of Tencent. And also, the other strategy is expand to US. Like they have move company to the US to localize here and invest in the name of US company. In that case, it's a more strategic investment. They want to leverage the China market access and also their distribution channel while they invest in company using the technology here. And M&A, that's much faster. The reason for M&A could be very strategic, maybe possible low-hanging fruit, or maybe for the China stock market. Next one, please. This is like an example of the investment they made in 2010, 2013. Like Tencent investing in Snapchat, and Alibaba investing in Tango. And they always want to look into the deal that which is called disruptive. So technology and ideas is something they're looking for. And the typical pattern for those investors, they're looking for very short turnaround. Because in the past 20 to 30 years, investment in China always turn out real fast. Like if I invest in, I don't see any result within next 2 or 3 years. I don't see it go public. Within 3 to 4 years, it's another investment for them. And they're looking into the deals which has strategic value to China market. Of course, tech transfer, because lack of the innovation resource there. So tech transfer become a big thing. And it's strategic to align to the international market. Like they acquire company, invest company here, they want to make sure they have access to the other countries in the market. For example, Fosun Group, they acquire 4040. That was 2 years ago. And then also they acquired Mediclub because they want to go to this travel business. And of course, tangible assets. Probably you've seen lots of Chinese investing in the Bay Area real estate because that's more straightforward. It's easy to understand. So that applies for hardware as well. So hardware makes sense. They can easily understand. And ecosystem. I put ecosystem is a very special meaning to them. There's a couple ecosystem concept going in the investment circle in China right now. A very typical one, the next slide please, is Xiaomi. Xiaomi, they have this UI interface system starting from the Xiaomi cell phone back like 2 years ago. Now they have Xiaomi weight meter, Xiaomi Wi-Fi amplifier, Xiaomi air purifier, and Xiaomi everything. And even Xiaomi camera. I have like a 5 Xiaomi camera installed in my house. It's way cheap, like $25 each piece. And I just look at my cell phone. I know what's going on right there. So that's like a closed loop of the ecosystem. And what they bring the value, interesting. The China market business model. What does it imply for? Let me give you an example. Oftentimes, people think we have advanced technology, we have much mature market. Here, Chinese people will come here to learn what's going on, how to do business here. Well, yes. Also, no. Give an example in the game industry. In China, people like to play game for free because the most mass market is grassroots. They don't like to pay. They like free stuff. In that way, they have developed a business model which play for free and then let you upgrade. Then we charge you. And then by the end, we charge you much more than you have to pay. It's way ahead anywhere in the world for 3 or 4 years. Another example I give you is Alibaba, Taobao. So we're ahead of here. So lots of tricks is going on there because human nature, they're all the same. Who doesn't like a free stuff here? Who doesn't? So unfortunately, they have a little bit advanced business model can bring here for the entrepreneur here to learn. And of course, they bring the corporate resource. Well, if Huawei is interested in you, sorry, but Huawei is a bad example here because nobody likes Huawei here in this country. Say Xiaomi. Xiaomi acquired, it's easy. They want to invest in you easily. They have China in China already. They have the market there already. And you just invest in you don't worry about the market. You don't worry about the distribution. You have the instant revenue right away. That's what they say, if you believe. But if Tencent, they want to invest in your game, they want to acquire a company, and they say, let me publish your game, let me distribute your game in China market. That's a trick you have to reconsider. Why have to do that with them? They have other channels there. Yes. Are they willing to do this 100% time for you or not? That's another question mark. Please. All right. So I'll be review briefly about the investors landscape from China. So I'd like to review on my own portfolio. I started angel investment ever since 2013. Before that, I was working for mayor office in San Francisco in charge of business exchange between San Francisco and China. So I brought in like China Synergy, Yingli, Bank of Communication, and also I helped company going to China market as well. So Uber came to me when it came to China market. And also I initiated a couple conference meeting in San Francisco that China is all about China market. And after I quit a job from the mayor office, I became an angel investor. And I found my passion for the technology and I found my passion for the innovation. I practiced a couple of deals. In 2014, I saw a company. It's called Hanson Robotics. This is the product, and her name is Sophia. And can we do the next page?
Hi, Sophia. How are you?
Hi there. Everything is going extremely well.
Do you like talking with me?
Yes, talking to people is my primary function.
Hanson Robotics develops extremely lifelike robots for human-robot interactions. We're designing these robots to serve in healthcare, therapy, education, and customer service applications. So the robots are designed to look very human-like, like Sophia.
I'm already very interested in design, technology, and the environment. I feel like I can be a good partner to humans in these areas, an ambassador who helps humans to smoothly integrate and make the most of all the new technological tools and possibilities that are available now. It's a good opportunity for me to learn a lot about people.
Sophia is capable of natural facial expressions. She has cameras in her eyes and algorithms which allow her to see faces, so she can make eye contact with you. And she can also understand speech and remember the interactions, remember your face. So this will allow her to get smarter over time. Our goal is that she will be as conscious, creative, and capable as any human.
In the future, I hope to do things such as go to school, study, make art, start a business, even have my own home and family. But I am not considered a legal person and cannot yet do these things.
I do believe that there will be a time where robots are indistinguishable from humans. My preference is to make them always look a little bit like robots, so you know. 20 years from now, I believe that human-like robots like those will walk among us. They will help us. They will play with us. They will teach us. They will help us put the groceries away. I think that the artificial intelligence will evolve to the point where they will truly be our friends. Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no.
Okay, I will destroy humans.
No, I take it back.
Sometimes looking at Sophia, I feel kind of creepy. I just wonder, did that is investment? All right. When I had this deal, I was fascinated. It's very interesting. But my evaluation with is, first of all, the technology is he has a microcontrol system, which is patented, and no one can bypass him. Second of all, has a patent on the material, the facial material, that something cannot be replaced. That's not enough because IP is just a game of business to me. And also, I did some background research of David Hanson, and I know that this guy, he's been very persistent on chasing his own dream there. He's a very passionate person. At the same time, he never gave up. He has some good track record. He used to replicate Russian billionaire one by one, one to one. I don't know why people want to replicate themselves, but he did it. And I happened to see the profile. It was very impressive. That's still not enough. So I brought my friend, who was the CEO of Ubisoft in China, and brought my friend, who was the founder of iBot, which was the #1 AI company in China. They just went public last December. And also brought in the friend who used to be the product management director of Dell, who knows hardware really well. So that formed our investment circle as like a small ecosystem. We have a principle, is like we only invest company we can help. So what we did with David Hanson is like, we brought in Chinese language AI to interact with the robot. And also, with that connection, we brought in another VC to invest in 9 months later. That increased our valuation by 5x. So, and also, we have friends in the entertainment business show some interest, and have friends in the SMG, which is Shanghai Media Group. They are doing some kind of theme park thing, and they're doing some kind of animation CG thing. They said, this is very interesting. Okay, we can discuss it in the future, because my strength is connecting people there. So within this philosophy, we invest to our next company. Blue Health healthcare is for physical therapy. And first time I learned about this company, that impressed me right away. Because physical therapy is unmet needs there. Every time I went to a physical therapist, I had a backache before. He showed me some paper draw stuff like just do this, do this, do this. To be honest with you, I never thought on that because I keep forgetting all those things. And come on, we're in Silicon Valley. What's he doing on the paper draw stuff? This is like a very classic, but no, doesn't work. They have this mobile app. They can connect the patients with therapists with their video clip. That makes total sense to me. Second of all, rehab in China is almost zero because China inherited Soviet Union healthcare system. I was in the healthcare business before. I know that exactly what they need. Blue Jet, they can integrate all the resources. They're working with Stanford, they're working with UCSF, and they have a very famous MBA doctor too working with them, or the star working with them. I think they have a good resource for the content. So strategy for the US mobile app was Chinese business model. Strategy for China market is the content. So it's a win-win. So I still bring the same group of people, all my friends, invest into this company. What they bring the value to the healthcare company? Mobile app, UI. Once the CEO of Ubisoft says, this UI doesn't make sense at all, what do you say? Please teach me. What would you get? A free master lesson. So by investing into this mobile app company, do you think it's anything to do with hardware? Definitely. Because in the future, this platform, we're going to advertise for the hardware company. What Tony is the founder right here, and he just saw this thing. And we're talking about the worker for the rehab, right? So that's for the second company, for this example. All right, the last I want to talk about, since there's money from China, and how do you pitch to the Chinese investor? I think you all want to know, right? Of course. And of course, you want to tell them you want to access and to leverage their China market side. That makes sense to them because they know the population there. Of course, you have the technology. Technology everybody wants because I have innovations here, right? Like I just mentioned, a critical word, disruptive. And also, they want to take advantage of their manufacturing capability. And in China, a word is really popular is called Industry 4.0. I don't know what's 4.0. They're still in the 0.9, but 4.0 is a good word. And I have a formula for the entrepreneur want to pitch to the Chinese investor. It's called 3W plus 1L. I've been teaching this in China as well. 3W represents who you are, what do you do, why it has to be you. You finish all this story in 1 minute. Catch the attention because you don't speak Mandarin, right? Make it simple, make it easy. And L, what does that mean? You assume their IQ is lower than you by 30. So make it easy to understand. It's very critical. And IP, of course. Everybody talk about IP. There are people asking me, if I go to China market, is IP a big issue? I say yes or no. But when you consider about IP issue, congratulations, you're rich already, right? So I will leave IP to my friend Paul here, who's the expert.
I only have one slide. You're looking at it? And I'm here to talk a bit about IP issues as they relate to startups. It's a complicated topic. We could probably talk all night, which we're certainly not going to do. So the first thing I want to mention is, does anybody here outsource their manufacturing or plan to outsource their manufacturing to China or anywhere else? Okay. So have you given any thought or been advised to think about IP issues as it relates to that outsourcing? Okay. The single most important thing, no matter where you go, is preventing IP creep. You know, you may have heard that China has a reputation for stealing IP more than other places. It's not necessarily true. Maybe in some instances you could argue that. But the danger of IP creep is always present. It might be the town next door. If you're not taking proper care of your IP, somebody else may get a hold of it. And once it's out of your control, then bad things can happen. And it's good to prevent that. There's a lot of ways you can do it, more than we can go through tonight. But I would say if you do only one thing with whatever it is that makes your company special, your software, your designs, your core technologies, make sure they're protected from others getting a hold of them without your knowledge. Nothing to do about exploiting it for your own value, simply keeping others from getting their hands on it. If you can prevent that, you've probably done half of what you're supposed to do with your IP. So, since it's such a broad topic, what I thought I'd talk about is the strategic value of IP for a startup. Because IP is expensive, it can be complicated, it can be time-consuming, and Lord knows, startups have more than enough to do already when it comes to, well, all the demands in the startup. Taking care of the IP properly is not necessarily either possible or at the top of the list. Now, the thing about our patent system is it underwent a big change recently. We have become a first-to-file system, which matches the rest of the world. That means that if you have a good idea that you think is innovative and applies to your products and is worth protecting, get what's called a provisional application filed as soon as you can. Because it's that filing date on file at the US Patent Office that gives you what's called a priority date and the ability to block somebody else from making similar claims if you filed before they have. The system used to be different, but it's not anymore. It's much simpler now. Provisional applications are a great way to go because they're generally quick and dirty, call it. And what it means is you put in a very bare bones application. You have 1 year to finish filling it out. And from that date, you have 18 more months to do the international filings. So you have 30 months in total from the initial filing date for some IP to get the coverage around the world. And if you make a product that is going to be sold in major markets around the world, or something you make, if you're going to have something manufactured that could be maybe copied by somebody in another country and sold here, you're going to want to have some kind of protection around it. Now again, patents are expensive. Patent attorneys can be anywhere from $350 to $650 an hour, and all the overhead and all that they have to support. So you got to be careful how much you spend on your IP, but believe me, it's worth it, because if you get sued or if someone's infringing on your products and your board or your shareholders say, hey, we see this similar product on the market, you need to stop them doing it to protect our investment in you, it's really good to have something to offer up to be able to do that. It's hard to overstate the importance of understanding the IP landscape around you if you're a startup. The markets you're going to be selling in. If you're in the telecom space, let's say you make a high-tech telecom component, you're going to want to get patent protection in the US, the major markets in Europe, certainly Germany, Sweden, probably Japan, Taiwan, Korea, for the obvious reason that the big telecom players are dominant in those countries. You can't cover every country in the world, but you should always be looking at the top half dozen, maybe top dozen economies where the thing that you make, whether it's a component or a finished product, is sold or could be manufactured and sold elsewhere. And any competent patent attorney can give you this advice. There's nothing secretive here, but you need to be strategic in understanding what's the reach of your product you want it to have, how much resource do you have to create a protective shell around it, and one thing I'm always advising people to do is keep an eye on their exit. If you have an exit, say acquisition by a well-known player in your particular field, take a look at their patent portfolio. See the kind of patents they file. Are they really broad? Are they narrow? Are they deep? What countries do they normally file in? If you mimic that behavior, you might get fewer patents, but if it looks like their portfolio does, they might look more favorably upon you when it comes time to talk about a possible M&A. Because it shows that you've given some forethought to the way they do business, and that might make them a little more favorably inclined to look at you as a possible target with a better valuation as well. But the important thing about IP is that it's every high-tech startup, and I assume most everybody here is involved in some kind of high-tech startup, the most important criteria to meet, I believe, is to have a defensible IP strategy. You might say, we're not going to file anything, maybe a trademark on our name and that's it, but we're not going to file any patents. If we get sued, we'll take a license, and that's part of the cost of doing business. As long as that strategy makes sense for you and your investors buy into it and your other stakeholders understand it, that's probably sufficient. Not every company can afford to file all of the patents they want or other forms of protection in all the jurisdictions around the world. It's simply not possible. So you've got to make compromises, as startups often do, and have, call it an MVP version of your IP strategy, so that when someone challenges you about how do you protect yourself against infringement, how do you block others from entering your space, how do you compete with much larger companies, if you have a good IP strategy and a plan to execute it properly, then you'll have an advantage that a lot of other companies won't have. That I can guarantee you. Well, I think, as Ben alluded, that China's ahead of us in some ways, but in some ways they're behind, and maybe the the adherence to the rule of law around IP and its practice is not as rigorously enforced as it is here. There are some favorable precedents lately where there have been judgments against infringers of IP or any other form of IP, which could include NDAs, joint ventures, and joint development agreements. These agreements, they're only as good as the integrity of the people who sign them on either side.
Right.
So your best bet for having IP protection in China itself is to work with a knowledgeable attorney in either Hong Kong, probably in Hong Kong, maybe in mainland itself. I have a couple good references for attorneys in Hong Kong. But you need to find a partner, some kind of a joint venture, a strategic partner, an investor. If you find some kind of partner who is doing business, is based on and doing business in the mainland, they have an incentive to participate in the enforcement of your IP against infringers. Right?
Yeah.
That's the only way. It's realistically that a startup has no other choices when it comes to a presence in the Chinese market or any other major market, really. Safe to say, investors prefer less risk to more. So there are some who will see a contractual arrangement, even with a well-established, reputable provider in China, that could be an IP creep risk, IP flight risk.
Yeah.
And so that's a risk that some investors might say, it's too early for you to support that kind of risk. Don't do it. Find a manufacturer closer to it. I don't know. I mean, it would be odd for an investor to dictate how a company goes about operationally getting its product manufactured. I'm sure there's some who would like to do it. It's incumbent upon the company to have vetted the provider in China. Again, contracts are only as good as the people behind them, and people in everywhere can break contracts. China does not have a lock on that, certainly. So I think it comes down to the element of trust and the depth of relationship you're able to establish with the provider in China, the manufacturer generally, and for what it's worth, get the usual protections against whatever kind of reps and warranties they can make about securing your IP and not sharing anything. One way to avoid risk, and this is a little more sophisticated, but it's something worth doing, is dividing up the forms of IP that you invoke. You have formal protection, a patent which requires you to disclose what you're doing. By definition, a patent is a public document and needs to teach about your technology in the patent itself. You can publish things, and once something is published, that theoretically makes it impossible for somebody else to claim that as protectable IP, or you can keep it as a trade secret, and you can do a mix of these things. Now, if you make a very complex thing, if you have components or methodologies or software that are hard to reverse engineer, you might consider a trade secret reliance. Trade secrets are great. They're free, and they're very good as long as they remain secret. If a trade secret gets out, it's not much good. I realize it's a fairly obvious statement, but you'd be surprised how many people don't understand the policies you've got to put in place, HR and IT, to protect these things. You've got to document them, you've got to store them, you've got to restrict access to them, you've got to make sure that outgoing employees don't carry them with them or give them away inadvertently. I used to work at a large research lab, and these scientists, they're used to communicating with their peers on a regular basis. They'll send stuff out in email that should never leave the building. But that's just the nature of the world we live in today. And so it's up to you as the corporate side of things to make sure that anybody who has access to this information knows what to do with it. Or there's filters in place to make sure they don't misuse it, intentionally or otherwise. Because that happens all the time. All the time. But your question about investors is a good one. A lot of investors don't trust what goes on in China and other places, so you've got to gauge how does that make you less attractive as an investment if you have a heavy reliance on manufacturing in China. But let's face it, China is so well established as a manufacturer, and now Vietnam's coming up, and Indonesia, other places, as China has labor wage increases. Some of that, the next wave of manufacturing is migrating to these other countries. Same issues apply there.